They have sleek, futuristic features, high performance capabilities with engines that purr in silence. And best of all, they emit far less carbon dioxide than normal cars. With all that, who wouldn't want an electric vehicle? Now, with all that sexiness aside, these cars are closer to becoming mainstream than ever before, with the global electric vehicle charging station market size projected to grow 15 times by 2027. Now, the industry is still relatively young, and as provocative as it might seem to some, developers of the electric vehicles still have some kinks to work out, particularly when it comes to charging. Hello, I am your host Mike Lake, and in today's preview, I will be talking with Lyubov Artemenko about some anxiety electric car owners face and how her company, Go2U, is addressing it.
Innovation, resiliency, discovery. Join Mike Lake, President and CEO of Leading Cities, as we explore the technologies shaping the possibilities of our future with a preview of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome, Lyubov. It's so good to have you here in this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. I really appreciate you joining us. And of course, I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for tuning into this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to Lyubov Artemenko, who is the co-founder and COO of Go2U. This is a platform for electric vehicle charging management and operations. Now, before we get into electric vehicles and the challenges around charging them, let's talk to you. Let's hear from you rather a little bit about yourself and how this became an interest and passion of yours.
Hi, Michael. Thank you very much for having me today. A pleasure being here. So how it all started, the answer is very simple. I love traveling. But the question is, can I travel without contributing to the climate change? Last year, the global CO2 emissions reached 30 gigatons. And we all know that road transport is one of the largest sources of the CO2 emissions. To meet 2050 Paris climate commitments, basically transport has to be decarbonized. And there are plenty of studies, for example, from Transport and Environment, that says that basically we have to cease the sales of cars with internal combustion engines by 2035. So my question, Michael, is then to you. Are you driving electric vehicle?
No, I'm not.
That's okay, because I believe your next car will be electric. And while driving your electric car, me and my co-founders, we want you to be free from the range anxiety, for example. The range anxiety is the fear that the battery of your car may run out of power before reaching the destination. But we also want you to be free from the experience anxiety. That's basically the fear that you don't know what to do while your car is charging, because charging time can take from 30 to 1 hour. And so that's why this is how we started. We started with the mission to reduce the carbon footprint by really facilitating the adoption of electric vehicles.
So there's a lot to what you just said, and yes, I'm totally guilty of not driving an electric vehicle, which is actually something my wife and I do talk a lot about doing. And part of the reason, I will tell you, is because we have a detached garage that does not currently have electric supply. So there is no way to charge it. So this is not just in my family, but this is a real challenge to the adoption of electric vehicles. You talked about it well, that fear, that anxiety. So tell us a little bit more about, dive deeper into what that challenge means and how, well, we'll get to how we resolve it later.
Yes, indeed, Michael, and thank you for bringing this topic. Really, people should not think about EV charging as a hurdle. We really want to make the experience of driving and also charging your electric vehicle just a simpler, more comfortable, and more accessible. So we started the company back in 2017 with my co-founders, Lana and Nazar, because we were the EV drivers ourselves. We also had the expertise as official distributors of EV charging hardware equipment. And we also had the experience as charge point operators, but something was missing. Really, we had a feeling that these EV charging solutions should bring more attention to the experience of the EV drivers. And that's little by little how we decided to create a totally new company, the software company that will eliminate this range anxiety, experience anxiety, and bring the technology, the solution to really simplify this experience.
So it seems to me that one of those hurdles, and I shouldn't be talking about it, I get your point, as a hurdle, but one of the challenges that exists is the expectation of the consumer, right? I mean, if you're using a fossil fuel vehicle, you need to fill up that tank. It's a 5-minute process, and there is an existing infrastructure, just. Yes. Nearly every street corner you can find a gas station. So that having been said, the electric vehicle charging station market is certainly on the rise. And there's just almost a 50% growth rate that we're looking at here in this. So this is a challenge that is, at least in part, being met already, maybe not to our hope or expectation just yet. But the other part of this is cost, right? There's a cost to building that infrastructure, and specifically for charging stations that operate quickly. So give us a sense, what is that cost?
Yeah, indeed, there is a cost to buy the hardware equipment. Then there is a cost, of course, with all the grid and the electricity connection. But then there's also the cost to the software, really, to run and operate this equipment. This cost is actually, we can reduce this cost by providing a higher utilization of this EV charging equipment. And for this, actually, we need a trusted software, a technology that can, first of all, bring high utilization of the charging locations, but without really compromising the experience of the EV drivers. There's actually where we play a role as a platform for EV charging management and operations. Our platform is leveraging big data and machine learning to monitor EV charging sessions, predict the electricity consumption, and then balance the demand from the EV drivers. So our customers are charge point operators, charge point owners, who really are looking for the software solution, how they can better utilize this charging equipment, how they can seamlessly run and operate the EV charging network. But let me tell you exactly how it works. Let's bring the perspective of our users. So let's take
that was I have to actually just say that was going to be my next question, although you brought up a different point, so I do want to get to the user experience. But just what does it mean when you say to optimize the use on the software side? What does that actually translate into? So just so we all have a good idea of what you mean.
Yeah, so we have to understand that there are some peak hours in the consumption when, let's say, you come from work home and you want to plug your car and you want to charge it. But basically, you don't have to recharge your car at 6 p.m. exactly. You can recharge your battery during the night. And the same with some specific locations where we see that EV drivers are really coming very often to, let's say, shopping malls during the weekends. And there are specific peak hours, peak consumption hours, when the grid is really not capable of dealing with this high consumption. And by the way, these days when the heat is entering our cities, it's really important to take into account how we distribute the electricity, how we balance this consumption. But at the same time, to balance and to optimize how we think about recharging the cars, there are also some days and some hours when basically we see that there's not enough demand. And to really optimize this demand, we need good data. We need good software to analyze these data, and then being able to react on these actionable insights. So this is where GoToYou is playing an important role.
So now let's talk about that user experience.
Yes. It's I believe it's much easier when we talk about what EV drivers basically see, and leave the magic to the backend system of the platform. So let's say we have a driver. Let's call him John. So John really wants to travel somewhere using the electric vehicle. And what our technology actually offers to John is to use the mobile application where John can easily use the filters, which will help him to find the locations, the EV charging locations based on his needs, preferences. Let's say he's looking for a hotel to stay. So we'll help him to filter hotels with EV charging stations, and then we'll offer John to book EV charging session in advance, indicating the time of his arrival, and then also book the hotel stay. So everything is very simple. Everything is in one mobile application. And what is really nice about our solution, that on arrival, John can make the selfie check-in and then collect bonuses that he can later on exchange on some discounts and presents from GoToYou platform. And this is really to make the whole experience nice, pleasant, but also fun, because yes, we think that gamification of the experience of the EV drivers is another really exciting part of how we can really play around this waiting time, because, well, yes, the charging is not taking 5 minutes, but hey, there are also other opportunities that EV charging is bringing to the EV drivers, but also the hosts of these EV charging locations. So the magic is happening on the back end, and let's say the Monica, who is the operator of the charging stations at this hotel, she can use our powerful dashboard to fully monitor, control, troubleshoot any problems that are related with the EV charging of John. She can also use our marketing and PR tools to advertise additional products and services to John, for example, breakfast in the morning while he's staying, and really collect the information about the preferences of the drivers, really understanding how they use the charging locations, what are the most popular days or hours for clients to come and go, and really have these actionable insights.
Wow, fantastic. So now let's imagine a world 5, 10, 15, 50 years from now. And, the electric vehicle charging infrastructure is everywhere. As you point out, that all vehicles perhaps will be electric vehicles. Now we have the GoToYou platform.
Yes.
Give me that sense. When in that world we've just imagined, 50 years, 10 years, whenever it is from now, what is the impact that the GoToYou platform ultimately creates?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's fantastic question, because really it's the question is, how we get to this point where all and every car is electric, but maybe it will happen really faster than 50 years from now. So we're really working on this. So first of all, this world where we see everywhere electric vehicles, that would be fantastic, because that means that we really help to overcome the existing barriers that currently exist for the EV charging infrastructure deployments, and that's really our one of the biggest goals will be achieved. But really, what I would like to emphasize that this is not simply about connecting each and every charging point to our platform, even though we would love to have everyone connected to our platform. But this is really about helping to reduce the CO2 emissions that the cars were emitting, and being able to capture this impact that we would bring. That would be really fantastic. That would be really fantastic to see that people are really not worrying about driving electric vehicle, that they know exactly where and how they can easily recharge the car, and they don't even have to think about this. No, and looking back to your question that now we don't have enough infrastructure, or it takes so much time, we think that in the future that the EV charging will basically take 3 seconds. That's the time that you need to plug the car, and GoToYou platform will manage everything through the software. We will be able to really start your charging, knowing exactly the battery capacity of your car, knowing exactly how much electricity your car needs, and being able to fully manage it, balancing the grid and avoiding any peak consumptions. So this will be really a beautiful world, and I'm very much looking forward to that. My only hope is that we really get to that point much faster. So I'd love to see that in 10 years. So, or maybe, well, okay, in 10 years.
Well, I mean, I know there's so much more to cover, and sadly our time is up here. But for anybody who does want to learn more or get in contact with you and your colleagues, what's the best way for them to do that?
Please go to our webpage, www.go-tou.com, and you can find the email there. You can also follow us through the social medias, and really happy to answer any questions that you might have about GoToYou. We're looking forward to continue our cooperation with the leading cities, so you can probably also find our contacts through this challenge. And yes, thank you very much, Michael, for this interview, and thank you for the opportunity to share what we are building in GoToYou. Thank you.
Well, Lyubov, it's been wonderful to have you on this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. We're thrilled to see the success you've already had and the continued success you will have. So thank you for joining us. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Listeners like you are essential to advancing our efforts to drive resiliency and sustainability for all. I ask that you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whichever streaming platform you prefer. Your feedback helps us to grow and share these brief previews of what life in the future can be. In addition to thanking our guest today, I want to thank Peter Roy and Demetria Bridges for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and encourage others to also join us each week in previewing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Preview of Tomorrow is brought to you by Leading Cities, a global nonprofit driving resilience and sustainability for all by unleashing the potential of the world's cities. Join them at leadingcities.org.